Once upon a time, there was a woman. The most beautiful and amazing woman in all the world.
No! You just touched her. Watch.
No, please, don't do that. They're only children. Stop it!
Welcome back. Another episode of What's Your Story here on Horror Fiend TV. Yes, the show that we take a deep dive into what slow burns. The ones that not many people like, but we do because we look for stories that are within stories. And if you're a horror movie that has a great story, then guess what? We're going to talk about you on this show. And joining me is my co-host, Fourth Corner herself, the lovely Lexi. How are you doing? And I know this was the first watch for you.
Yes, it was. I'm doing good. But you said, how am I? I'm doing good. But yeah, this one was definitely a good one. I talk about it, although it does remind me of other things, and we'll dive into that.
Yes, we are going to talk about The Girl with All the Gifts, 2016. That's right, 10-year anniversary. And a film where, I don't know, two other people could have did, but they decided not to do. But you know what? That's why we do it, because if you don't want to do it, we got you. And this was directed by Colm McCarthy. The film stars Glenn Close as Dr. Caroline Calder. We have Sienna Nanua as Melanie. And then we have Gemma Arterton as Helene Justinu. And everybody's favorite sergeant, Eddie Parks, played by Patty Considine. Now, this film is based on a best-selling graphic novel by Mike Carey. So you have these children who are immune to this fungal bacteria that basically has caused the whole world to go into some kind of zombie apocalypse. So these kids are kept within the confines of a military base till, well, all hell breaks loose. They escape, and Melanie is one of the key to trying to solve what humanity can do to save itself from this bacteria. Now, I know this is first watch for you, so I know you like zombie films, and I know you're a big Walking Dead, but what did you think of the premise? And I know you were actually saying to remind you of something else, but what did you think of the premise of this film?
The premise of the film, like the cold open was good. I like the fact that it did take a different take. You know, usually when we see zombie films, it's out in the world and people trying to survive. This was in confined premises of a military base. So we're trying to contain, we're trying to control, which they're doing a horrible job, because remember, on the outside of the fence was the whole world and the whole apocalypse. But I do like that we're on the other side of the fence in this film. I didn't expect, because I never saw this film. I didn't know what to expect reading the title, The Girl with All the Gifts. I didn't know what to expect. I did not think it was a zombie film. So this is like, I love the theme of our background colors right now, because it's like our brains and brews moment. We'll take over, guys. Beer brothers. We're going to be the coffee brother sister. Well, geez, yeah. But we're the coffee people. Does our coffee and our THC taste good? We need our sunglasses. But joking, guys. But yeah, I felt like I was having a brains and brews moment watching it. I was actually more excited because I do have an obsession with zombie films. I do. I love zombie films just as much as I love paranormal and exorcism films. But yeah, like I said, I like that it came, it was within the walls. I found it interesting that children were, well, especially Melanie, because she was a little special case. And again, what it reminds me of is The Last of Us. Minor differences, but I do like that it was a different intake. You know, it wasn't just Joel and Ellie building this father-daughter connection and, you know, stuff like that. It was definitely military trying to contain a situation. I do like the fact that the teacher had some type of heart. She was the first one to, you know, care about the kids, even though I don't think all the kids were just as special as Melanie.
No.
Because she had her intellect still. She was still talking like you and I are, still had her human side. However, that's the difference with her and Ellie from The Last of Us. Ellie was pure intellect. She just, if she got bit, it didn't affect her. But it didn't mean that she switched over to zombie. Like, I like that she could switch between the two. And sometimes she didn't have control of it. And they were, you know, well aware. And they masked her for a reason. But I do like that she has that ability, which that's a gift.
No, it was definitely a different take of it because you rarely see any film with a child being basically having the illness and then carrying the film. I mean, because I think she did a tremendous job with her role.
Yeah.
And the fact that, yeah, we get the cold open, we get these kids at the base, and the fact that we have, you know, Dr. Calder, you know, once again played by Glenn Close, great job of it, what she did in this film, and how she uses Melanie to select which of the kids they're going to basically sacrifice in order to, you know, basically kill them and look at their brain, because this is where the bacteria delves deep into is the brain. And you know, you get the reaction of the kids, you know, if anything like perspiration, you know, blood triggers them. Even Melanie got triggered at a certain point in this film where she almost attacked, Helen. But I like the fact that right off the bat we got to know Melanie and we got to see the relationship between her and Helen, because you had the scene where she's caressing, Melanie's, head during class. And Melanie she loved it because, you get the feeling that Melanie viewed her not only as a friend, but like a mother figure, and she would do anything to protect her. So as you're watching the opening of this film, you start wondering, who are the real monsters? Is it the ones on the other side of the fence or the ones within the military facility? Which is always good to have in a film when you have that balance where you want the viewer to be like, all right, who are the real bad guys here? The people who are infected, who have no control of their thinking or what to do, or basically those who are not infected, who are sacrificing children in order to find out or find a cure, for this bacteria. And unfortunately, Melanie was the one that they were going to look to sacrifice. But I think it held the film strong at the beginning. And as it carried on, you saw the transformation of, the sergeant, how he viewed Melanie. You saw what Melanie volunteered to do throughout the film. And that brings me to, now we're gonna be jumping around this film a lot, but when we reach the end of this film, and I'll let you talk about, if you want to talk about the journey when we found as far as the bacteria is, or what it looked like as far as, but Melanie made a decision towards the end of this film that basically everybody got sacrificed except for one. Like, what did you think of her decision at the end of this film?
And not to keep comparing to The Last of Us, but I do like in The Last of Us, Ellie wanted to die for the world. But we get the other, because I always wonder in almost every film that I watch, like, I wonder what would have happened if the character made a different choice. And you get that in The Girl with All the Gifts. She made the choice to be selfish and live and not die for the world. And and this is just my opinion, I feel like she didn't get nice treatment, obviously, in the military base. The only one that treated her with any type of respect was the teacher and Dr. Caldwell. She had her, ways of not being so nice, but she wasn't disrespectful to the little girl or anything. But I digress. As far as, I don't think it was the right decision. I get why she did it, because, I don't know. Maybe I don't know why she did it. It's just, I took it as, fuck the world. We're fucked anyway, so let me just release all the spores out into the world. which I loved the imagery of the what looked like Jack and the Beanstalk type vibe of the infection just growing from the roots of these dead zombies out of their mouth, out of their body. It was really cool looking. And I did get nervous when Dr. Caldwell grabbed one of those like weirdo coconut looking things, and it was a spore is what I'm talking about, but she's banging on it and it's not. I was like, no, it's going to release, because they talked about it being airborne once it's broken open. So I was like, oh my God, she's going to kill herself right there. But I think it was selfish, because now her teacher friend is just stuck behind a wall forever. She's the only one that she saved. She basically screwed the whole world except the teacher, but now the teacher's stuck in that box for the rest of her life. But I did like that image at the very end where all of the kids just like her sitting, even the ones that were attacking them. Yeah. So yeah, I to me, it was selfish. I don't think I would make the same decision. I think I would be an Ellie decision. Just save the world, start the next generation. They were talking about generation and generations.
I can see why she did it, though. And this is my take on it, is she knew eventually those spores were going to come out. And she knew that no matter what she tried to do, how far did they try to get? Because remember, the whole thing, they were trying to get to the next facility, and they weren't getting any contact with what's going on. So as far as they consider, all the facilities are gone, or they didn't get the opportunity to find one that's actually safe. So I feel like Melanie made the decision, listen, these spores are going to break regardless. It's whether or not we break them now or we break them later. And I think by making the decision to break them now, you're kind of getting rid of all the spores. You're hoping that after everything settles, that maybe Helen could come out of her basic incarceration, as a teacher. And I feel like the way Melanie looked at it, because when you get to the end of the film, Melanie runs into a pack of feral kids, and she ends up killing the leader in order to take over the pack. Now, being the fact that she's one of them, and she's also able to talk, regular like everybody else, she knew, all right, let's educate them with the hopes, cross your finger, that if everything settles and you're going to come out, they're not going to attack you. The only question I had was, all right, but are you going to help Dr. Helen find, which I don't think she's able to do anyway, because she's she's not basically a biologist or anything like that. So I don't think she'd be able to find a cure anyways. But I think Melanie was like, you know what? Teach this generation. Let us grow together. That way, maybe we could find how we could solve this problem. But I think one of the heartbreaking moments for me was when she's sitting there and here's the sergeant basically getting infected, and like, all right, could you just kill me? And the fact that she pulled the trigger without hesitation. But it's like, it's one of those things where I like the whole character development of it. I like the fact that even at certain points, Melanie feared her. I mean, Ellen feared Melanie, but she was willing to take those chances. Which leads to my next question. If you were in Ellen's position, what choices would you have made differently, or would you have done the same thing she did?
The teacher?
Yes.
Dealing with... I mean, I'm not heartless, I think I would make the same decisions because, again, I'm not heartless. I can't hurt a child. I think there was a question even to the sergeant, like, have you hurt a child? Like, I don't think, I would be able to. I don't know. That's a tough question because I also don't want to be in a world like, I'd be like the sergeant, just kill me now. I don't want to be in this role. I'm not going to fucking survive anyways. I suck at survival. I don't got the slightest survival skill in me. But yeah, that's a tough one. That's hard because it's just a scary life to live, even whether it's the Walking Dead life or the Last of Us life or World War Z life, you're fucked either way. Just take me out.
Yeah, Dr. Caller even told her, "You're letting your love blind you."
Yeah.
You know, I think she had the possibility to get into Melanie's head a little bit more, find out what's the end game here. What is it that, especially after you found the spores, and the fact that she didn't wake up Helen to let her know what she was doing. Basically, locked her in and was like, "All right, spores are released." So I think it's one of those things like, would Ellen have went in a different direction if Melanie revealed what she was going to do? Would she have left, you know, Melanie to Dr. Calder if you say you could find a cure, this is your last shot to see what you could do. So it's like one of those things where you are taking your love for a child and putting it like, right, this is how I'm making my decision because I love this child.
And that's the same decision Joel made in The Last of Us. He chose the child to save the child, and I guess that's selfish too because the child wanted to save the world. However, Melanie, I don't think it was the same decision.
I didn't put this in the questions, but I got to ask you because you're a zombie fan. Now, what did you think of the zombies in this film?
They were really cool. They were very funky, but it's to me because the ambiance, the way the coloring of the film was, it was definitely like The Last of Us. But I believe this film came out first, right?
Yes.
But obviously before the show. I don't know about the game.
I don't know about the game. I think the game might have come out before this movie.
Right, but it's definitely the same coloring, same ambiance. They were cool as fuck. I'm glad that they went a different route as far as with like The Last of Us. They went bloaters and like the evolution of the zombie, and they get nastier and nastier, which is awesome. But then here with Girl with All the Gifts, they're all pretty much in the same, makeup effect, and some are gruesome than others. The scene where the baby in the rat, oh my god! And we didn't even mention it. The whole story about how, I think it was Codwell talking about it, where the infants were already turning inside the womb and eating the mothers from the inside out, and then they were hollowed out basically. So I do like that story touch to it because that's super different. You don't hear it like that. Zombie from birth, that's crazy. So do you grow up and just become an adult zombie? Like, how does that work?
Yeah.
But it's just like that scene was just terrible to see. And when Codwell lifted the blanket and saw the infant was being ate by rats, and but you saw a small, Codwell wasn't a bad person. She wasn't she came off a little assholery, but she wasn't a bad person. She just wanted to save the world. And use Ellie as a cure. Yeah, it does involve killing the child, but it saves the world, and that's her opinion, whatever. But man, yeah, that's all my thoughts there.
Nah, I thought the zombies were really cool. I know Rick doesn't like runners. I'd rather have runners in film. But I like the fact that they stood dormant. They would just stand there and it would be something of a noise. The fact that they said don't look at them. So, that whole scene where they're walking through them and they're basically killing anyone that moved. But I like that whole thing where they were dormant and, you were able to get by them. And, if there were slow zombies, you would get able to get by them anyways. Unless you're just clumsy and, you do something dumb and get yourself caught. But I like the fact that they went from dormant to runners. And I think it gave a little bit extra edge in the film. And then when you run into the feral kids, you're like, this is messed up. This is, either you get chased by these infected runners or you get chased by the feral kids who are basically look just like any regular kids. But it was well done. I like the fact that, you got to see that. I like the whole, it felt like they were part of this hive mentality, which, some of them reacted together, some of them didn't. But, I'm glad they kept it simple. You didn't need to go to the extreme, have these super zombies and stuff like that. But, they kept it nice and simple. And, I got the book. I have to read the book. And definitely, if you haven't watched the movie, watch the movie. But, yeah, let's get into the scores. 1 through 5. How do you rate this?
For me, it is definitely 3.5. Reason being, I always knock a point down automatically when it reminds me of something else. That's just my pet peeve. And it was definitely Last of Us vibes. However, the story and Melody being the best character, in my opinion, it was the best character. Just how different she was, that she still had her intellect, which is a new take on zombie films. And that she can switch between the two. Like there's times, and I like that they called themselves the Hungries. It's not like walkers and clickers and all this stuff, but it was a new word, a new wording, the Hungries, and just the storyline of the babies, from birth. That was cool. They do look great, the monsters. And you're right. I didn't realize that they were dormant, and that's how the fungal bacterial infection starts, is it lays dormant in the brain. So it makes sense to be as still as they were unless they smelled you. And I found it interesting that they had some sort of invisible gel to mask. So that was a weird touch, but I liked it. It wasn't bad. But why not take that gel with you? Maybe hell broke loose on, did you have time to really grab the gel? I guess not. But that was a neat take. I mean, the film was great overall. I would watch it again. It's not horrible at all, but I did enjoy it for what it was. And one more thing about Melody, man, she did really good with the way she carried herself as a human and defending her humans against that scene where with all the little savage kids. Yeah, that was cool. But she was just as scary as they were, and they were fucked up. Like, and that poor other sergeant guy, he got killed. He was cool. I liked him. The black guy, he was cool. I wish we could have kept him, but yeah, overall, I liked the film.
Now, for me, I'm gonna give it a 4. The reason I'm gonna give it a 4 is because of Melanie. I just think she carried the movie. Her acting was tremendous in this film. One of my favorite scenes, which sorry, Rick, is after she ate she bit the cat. How it was like a drug that she needed to take a nap, and she fell asleep, and she got up and she went back to them. She had blood on her mouth. I'm all better now. We could go now. I'm like she was still innocent no matter what she had inside.
I have a black cat, so that made me sad.
But even the scene where all hell breaks loose and she's running through all of them and she sees them trying to get next to Ellen and she's like attacking everybody. It didn't matter if you were zombie or human, she was attacking you to protect, Ellen. And I like that bond that they had. Visually, the movie is stunning. I mean, it's very well, like the cinematography, the lighting, everything is very well done. I enjoyed the cast. I mean, you had, like I said, the sergeant who he was the a-hole at the beginning, but you got to see a little bit more about him. You got to understand the fact that, he had a wife and kid who got infected too. So there was a lot of background on him that,
he was just doing his job.
Yeah, he was. And he cared for Melanie by the end of the film, and she cared for him. So it's just, and she always, held him, even though he mistreated her. She was always respectful to him no matter what, which was interesting because she was always asked, how's your day? And then, they were like, oh, don't talk to her. Don't
snapped and killed him.
Yeah. But this is a very well done film. Is it for everybody? I think it is for everybody. I think this film is one of those that you would like if you're, into zombies, if you're into good stories. This is a film for you. And no sequel. Don't do sequel. Just leave it as a one-off. You don't need to do it. However, my character.
I challenge the Beer Brothers to watch this.
Yes, and I would like to see if Mike Carey would do another, like a second film a second book to this, because maybe I'll shoot him a message or stuff and see if he would like to have a conversation about the movie, the book. So I definitely got to read the book, but yeah, I think this is a good film. Definitely watch it. Forgot where it's streaming right now. I think Tubi, right? I think Tubi has
Tubi.
It. Yeah, Tubi. Come on, Tubi. I have all these shows.
Tubi's
I keep mentioning Tubi. So I'm going to make sure I hashtag Tubi because, come on, sponsor me. Sponsor the channel. Sponsor us. Give us a show on, on Tubi. We would love to do it. But yeah, Grow All the Gifts, 2016. Very good film. Very good acting.
10 years. That's crazy.
10 years. And Glenn Close, thank you for being, part of this film. I think you did a good job balancing. She is. She's awesome. But yeah, definitely watch the film. we'll see what we have next door as far as the next episode. We still have a lot more for you here on What's Your Story, as well as Horror Fiend TV. There's still new shows coming out. So, definitely don't forget, every Thursday we're live. So, watch us, if whether we're doing a film that just came out in the movies, a retro review. We have a lot of mixture and a lot of different guests joining us. So, yeah, stay tuned for more. So, till next time, this is JR the Villain. That is my co-host, the fourth corner herself, lovely Lexi. Watch the movie, read the book, please, and continue to support us. Subscribe, like, share. Till next time, peace.